Good morning, students. Today we will absorption of overheads. First of all, what do you mean by absorption? Absorption of overheads in simple words means recovery of overhead cost from the cost of production. It means a distribution of the overhead expenses allocated to a particular department over the units produced in that department. According to CIMA London, absorption of overheads is the process of absorbing all overhead costs allocated or apportioned over particular cost center or production department by the units produced. If we say in the simple words, that means it is a method of apportionment of overhead expenses of the cost centers to cost units is known as the overhead absorption. There are the various methods of the absorption of overheads. First is the production unit method. Under this method, overhead absorption rate is calculated by dividing the overhead cost by number of unit produced or expected to be produced, right? This is known as the production. Second is the percentage of direct material cost. Under this method, percentage of factory expenses to value of direct materials consumed in production is calculated to absorb manufacturing overheads. The formula is given: total overheads divided by direct material cost multiplied by 100. Right? There are the following advantages of this method also, like the calculation of overhead rate is simple. The method is more suitable when prices of the materials are fairly stable. Overhead costs pertaining to keep and handling of materials can be absorbed equitably by this method. Now, the next method is the percentage of direct labor cost method. Under this method, it's a very easy and direct and simple method and widely used in the most of the concerns. The overhead rate is calculated like overhead expenses divided by direct labor cost. Generally, from past experience on the basis of estimates, a percentage of factory expenses to direct wages is calculated and jobs are charged according to this percentage. It is very suitable in certain circumstances like where the direct labor constitutes a major proportion of the total cost of production, or where production is uniform, where labor employed and types of work performed are uniform, where the ratio of skilled and unskilled labor is constant, and where there are no variations in the rate of pay. That means the rates of pay and the methods are same for the majority of the workers in the concern. There are the various advantages of this method. The first advantage is automatic consideration is given to the time factor as wages paid are normally proportional to the time worked. Second, labor rates are more stable than material prices. Third, certain variable overhead expenses vary to a certain extent with the number of workers employed, and hence the charge to production is related to the amount of wages paid, which is proportional to the number of workers. There are the disadvantages too, like no distinction is drawn between the skilled and unskilled labor and difference in the rates of pay. Time factor is completely ignored if workers are paid on piece rate systems. No distinction is drawn between the production of hand workers and that of the machine workers. This method gives an inaccurate result when workers are paid overtime premium as highly hourly rates are paid for the overtime work. Next is the percentage of prime cost method. Under this method, the recovery rate is calculated dividing the budgeted overhead expense by the aggregate of direct materials and direct labor cost of all the products of the cost center. Its formula is the budgeted overhead expenses divided by anticipated direct materials and direct labor cost. This method is used because of the following limitations. First is where the cost of materials is predominating item of prime cost, adequate consideration is not given to the time factor. Second, no distinction is drawn between the production of hand workers and machine workers. Third, as is in the case with the other percentage methods, no distinction is drawn between the fixed and variable expenses. It combines the shortcomings of both direct materials and the direct labor cost. Next is the direct labor or production hour method. This method is obtained by dividing the overhead expenses by the aggregate of the production hours of the direct workers. The formula is the total overhead divided by number of direct labor hours multiplied by 100. This rate is suitable where the labor constitutes a major factor of production, or it is desired to take into consideration the time factor, and the rate may not be affected by the method of wage payment or the grade or the rate of worker. Next is the machine hour rate system. This information required for calculation of machine hour is cost of machine, cost of installation of the machine, maybe scrap value if any, life of the machine in hours, standing charges like rent allocated to this machine, repairs and maintenance of the machine, power consumption, setup time, cost of lubricants applied on the machine, and insurance premium on the machine. If it is any, then we will do it, right? The following steps are required to be taken for the calculation of machine hour rate. First is each machine or group of machines should be treated as a cost center. Second, overhead related to the machine are divided into two parts, fixed or standing charges and variable or machine expenses. Third, standing charges are estimated for a period for every machine and amount. So estimated is divided by the total number of normal working hours of the machine during that period in order to calculate an hourly rate for fixed charges. Fourth, total of standing charges rate and the machine expenses rate will give the ordinary machine hour rate. If machine operator wages are also added into the simple machine hour rate, then it will be called comprehensive machine hour rate. And the last one is sometimes supplementary rate is used when the charge for all other overhead costs is not included in the machine hour rate. That means only machine expenses are taken for the purpose of machine hour rate. It is also used for correcting any error in the determination of machine hour rate due to which there is heavy over or under absorption of the overheads. Thank you.